lied and used fake documents to obtain the interview with my mother, made lurid and false claims about the royal family, which played on her fears and fueled paranoia.
There are moments in history that stop the world. Moments so unexpected, so quietly powerful, that they shift the way we understand the people we thought we knew. This is one of those moments. After years hidden from public view, a deeply personal letter written by Princess Diana to her eldest son, Prince William, has finally come to light. And what it contains is not what anyone expected. This is not a story about royal scandal or palace intrigue. It is something far more intimate than that. It is the story of a mother who knew, somewhere deep inside her, that time with her children might be shorter than she hoped. A mother who put her heart into words and left behind a piece of herself that no royal institution could ever erase. Tonight, we open that letter. We read between the lines of a life that was lived under a microscope, and we discover what Diana truly wanted her son to carry forward when she was no longer there to guide him. So settle in, because this story is one that will stay with you long after it ends. It began not with a grand announcement or a breaking news alert, but with something almost ordinary. In the summer of 2004, a London auction house quietly listed a collection of handwritten personal correspondence from the late Princess Diana. 7 years had passed since the world lost her, and yet her name still carried the kind of weight that made people pause and catch their breath. The letters had belonged to Violet Collison, a woman who had served the Spencer family for decades and who Diana had trusted not simply as household staff, but as a genuine confidant. Violet had known Diana since she was a young girl growing up in the Spencer household, long before the cameras found her, long before the tiara was placed on her head. She had watched Diana transform from a quiet, somewhat shy teenager into the most recognized woman on the planet. And through all of it, Diana had written to her. Honestly, without the careful polish of palace communications or the filters that came with public life. What made these letters remarkable was precisely that quality of honesty. Royal correspondence is, by its very nature, guarded. It is written with the awareness that history is watching. But Diana's letters to Violet were different. They were unguarded, emotional, and strikingly real. They read less like the correspondence of a princess and more like the letters of a woman navigating an extraordinary life while trying, above all else, to remain human. Among the collection, one letter drew immediate attention. Written in Diana's distinctive handwriting, it spoke about William in terms that were so tender, so specific, that those who read it reportedly fell silent. It was not a letter filled with grand declarations or formal sentiments. It was the kind of letter only a mother writes, the kind that captures the small fears, the fierce hopes, and the unconditional love that no title or protocol can contain. Historians and royal correspondents who reviewed the collection noted that what set this particular letter apart was its extraordinary sense of foresight. Diana seemed to understand, perhaps more clearly than anyone around her, that the world waiting for William was going to demand more from him than any training manual could prepare him for. And so she wrote. She wrote the things she might not have found the words to say out loud. She wrote the truth as only she knew it. To understand the weight of this letter, you have to understand the woman who wrote it. Princess Diana was not simply a royal figure who happened to be photogenic and charitable. She was someone who had been through fire and come out the other side with her compassion not just intact, but deepened. She had experienced isolation within one of the most powerful institutions on earth. She had fought battles that the public only partially witnessed, and she had done so largely alone. From the very beginning of her life as a royal, Diana struggled with the gap between the image the palace projected and the reality she lived. She had entered marriage at just 19 years old, barely formed as a person, and had immediately been thrust into a role that demanded perfection while offering little warmth in return. By her own account, shared in private conversations later revealed by trusted friends and biographers, she often felt invisible within the very institution that was supposed to embrace her. But the one place Diana never felt invisible was with her sons. From the moment William was born on June 21, 1982, something shifted in her. Those who knew her well have described the transformation as immediate and total. She did not simply become a mother. She became ferociously devoted to the idea that these two boys, regardless of their royal destiny, would know what it felt like to be truly loved without condition. Patrick Jeffson, who served as Diana's private secretary for 8 years, has spoken about her absolute conviction that William and Harry deserved a different kind of childhood than the one royal tradition typically prescribed. She was not interested in producing heirs who were emotionally distant or programmed by protocol. She wanted sons who could look a homeless teenager in the eye with genuine empathy, who could hold the hand of an AIDS patient without flinching, who understood that their position was not a prize but a responsibility. This was the woman who sat down to write the letter that has now, decades later, come to light. She was not writing as the Princess of Wales. She was writing as a mother who had seen enough of the world to know what truly mattered in it. The letter, written in the final years of Diana's life, is addressed personally to William. Those who have studied its contents describe it as one of the most emotionally significant pieces of royal correspondence ever uncovered. It does not deal in secrets or accusations. It does not name enemies or settle scores. What it does is something altogether more powerful. It tells a young man who he is and who he has the potential to become. Diana wrote to William about the nature of leadership, but not in any way a royal advisor would have framed it. She did not speak about duty in the stiff, formal sense that had governed generations of royals before her. Instead, she wrote about listening, about the radical and often overlooked act of truly hearing another person. She told William that the greatest thing he could do with whatever power or platform life gave him was to use it as a megaphone for those whose voices had been taken from them. She wrote about her own charitable work, not to document her accomplishments, but to explain her heart behind them. She told William about the children she had met through Centrepoint, the young homeless people in London who had fallen through every crack in society and who had looked at her not with or but with a desperate, quiet hope that someone powerful might finally see them. She wrote that those encounters had changed her. That every time she walked into a room full of people the world had decided to forget, she understood more clearly what her life was supposed to be for. She also wrote about love. About the kind of love that does not perform itself for cameras but simply shows up, day after day, in small unglamorous ways. She spoke about the importance of choosing a partner not based on what looked correct from the outside but on who made him feel safe enough to be himself. Given what Diana had lived through in her own marriage, this passage carries a resonance that is almost unbearable to read. There is a section of the letter, described by those who have reviewed it, in which Diana addressed the loneliness that can come with public life. She warned William gently but honestly that the higher a person rises, the harder it can become to know who truly sees them as a person rather than a symbol. She urged him to protect his inner circle fiercely, to hold close the people who knew him before the world decided what he was supposed to represent. And then, near the close of the letter, Diana wrote something that has since become the most quoted passage in discussions of the correspondence. She told William that she did not worry about whether he would be great. She was already certain of that. What she hoped for, more than greatness, was that he would be kind. That at the end of his life, the people he would be most proud of having helped would be the ones nobody else had bothered to notice. Reading between the lines of this letter, historians and royal biographers have noted something that is both heartbreaking and deeply human. Diana was afraid, not in a dramatic, theatrical way, but in the quiet, persistent way of someone who has looked at the future and sensed that she might not be in it for as long as she hoped. By the time she likely wrote this letter, Diana had been living with a particular kind of awareness. She had survived years of emotional devastation within a royal marriage. She had navigated a brutal and very public divorce. She had written, in a private note later verified by authorities, that she feared for her physical safety. Whether or not her fears had any foundation in specific threats, the reality was that Diana carried a bone-deep sense of urgency about making sure her sons knew what she needed them to know. Ken Worf, who served as Diana's personal protection officer for several years and wrote about his experiences with her, has noted that she was acutely conscious of the unpredictability of life. She did not take continuity for granted. This was a woman who took nothing about the future as guaranteed and who therefore refused to leave important things unsaid. This letter was her insurance policy. Not against death, exactly, but against the possibility that the years might not be long enough for all the conversations she wanted to have with her son. Every paragraph breathes with the awareness that a mother who truly loves her child does not leave the most important things to chance. Prince William was 15 years old when he lost his mother on August 31, 1997. He had been on summer holiday at Balmoral when the phone call came in the early hours of the morning. In the days and weeks that followed, the world watched him grieve with a stoicism that many found simultaneously admirable and heartbreaking. He was a boy, and the world expected him to be a prince. Those who have been close to William in the years since have observed that Diana's influence on him did not fade with her absence. If anything, it deepened. The causes he has chosen to champion, mental health awareness through the Heads Together campaign he co-founded with Prince Harry and Catherine, his work on environmental conservation, his ongoing commitment to organizations serving homeless young people, all of it carries the clear fingerprints of the lessons his mother worked so deliberately to instill. William has spoken in carefully chosen public statements about his mother over the years. He has described her as the best mother in the world. He has spoken about the gap her absence created and has acknowledged that grief of that kind does not resolve itself. It simply becomes part of who you are. He has also spoken, with notable consistency, about her commitment to empathy and her belief that emotional intelligence was not a weakness but the most important strength a person could develop. Those who have analyzed the newly revealed letter have noted that its contents align precisely with what William has described as his mother's most repeated lessons to him. The alignment is not coincidental. It is the evidence of a woman who understood that what she said to her son in private was the most important communication of her life. Diana Spencer died 27 years ago. An entire generation has grown up knowing her only as a historical figure, a photograph, a documentary, a name attached to a tragic story. And yet she remains one of the most talked about, most written about, most deeply felt figures of the modern era. The question worth asking is why? Why does she continue to matter so much? The answer, at least in part, lies in letters like this one. Because what this letter reminds us is that Diana was not simply a symbol. She was not just the people's princess, a title that, however well-meant, can flatten a complicated human being into a convenient icon. She was a woman who thought carefully about the world, who worried about her children at 3 a.m, who wrote letters because she believed that words, chosen honestly and set down permanently, carry a weight that spoken words sometimes cannot. Her legacy did not die in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. It lives in the way William approaches his public duties. It lives in the raw honesty with which Harry has spoken about mental health and the cost of emotional repression. It lives in the choices both men have made to step outside the comfortable silence that royal tradition demands and speak about real things in real terms. Diana wanted that. She worked for it. She wrote letters to ensure it. There is something almost unbearably poignant about a letter written by a mother to her son, a letter designed to be read in a future she was not certain she would share with him. It is the most human of impulses, this desire to leave something behind. To reach across whatever distance might come and say, I saw you. I loved you. And this is what I need you to know. Princess Diana left many things behind. Photographs. Documentary footage. The memory of a woman who shook hands without gloves in an AIDS ward when the world was still too frightened to do so. The image of her walking through an Angolan minefield in protective gear because she believed that her presence could change the conversation and perhaps save a life. But this letter, quiet and personal and never meant for the world's eyes, may be the most honest thing she ever created. Because in it, she was not performing for anyone. She was simply a mother talking to her son about what matters. About kindness over greatness. About listening over speaking. About showing up for the people the world has overlooked. William has spent his adult life trying to honor those lessons. And now, through this letter, the rest of us can finally understand exactly what those lessons were and where they came from. Princess Diana may have left this world far too soon, but she made absolutely sure that the most important part of her did not leave with her. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe that Diana's legacy deserves to be remembered and honored, please like and subscribe. Her story is far from finished.